Welcome back, everyone. We continue to get more insights into the ongoing rift between Dangote Group and oil sector regulators. As the House of Representatives Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources, Downstream and Midstream has launched a probe into claims that local refineries, including the Dangote Petroleum Refinery, produce inferior products. Meanwhile, the Northern Group Frontiers has called on the House of Representatives to thoroughly investigate the issues surrounding the Dangote Refinery without taking sides. So tonight, let's get at the perspectives of Kemi Yesufu. She's the CEO, Editor-in-Chief, Frontline News Online, as Nigerians await the outcome of that probe. Good evening to you, Kemi. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Welcome to Politics Tonight.
Good evening. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure discussing issues affecting our great nation.
Right. So, with this level of allegations and counter-allegations we've seen in the last 2 weeks over this very serious matter, which is now a national issue. First, let me have you speak to something that sounds like divided opinion. Some say Dangote has continued to build in the continent. His admirers say it's because he believes in the continent. But others say it is because it gets undue incentives in Africa and knows how to crush the competition in Nigeria. And I'm guessing this is the reason federal government is trying to protect its own interest. Did you get my question? Kemi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So did you get that question, or do I repeat myself?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. It went. Yeah, please okay. Do. It went silent for some time.
All right. So with the level of allegations and counter-allegations we've seen in the last 2 weeks over this matter, and I said this has become a national issue. So first, I'd like you to speak to something that sounds like divided opinion across the country. Some say Dangote has continued to build in the continent, and his admirers say it's because he believes in the continent and should not be frustrated. But others say it is because he gets undue incentives in Africa and knows how to crush the competition in Nigeria. What do you think?
Well, I think I have to start on a positive note by saying that it's soothing that the Minister of State Petroleum Oil, Senator Heineken Ndukbobiri, met with will I call them the quarreling factions? I don't want to call them warring factions on Monday, and there's a bit of calm. But talking about, I also have a strong bias. I'm somebody that believes so much in promoting and ensuring competition. And if you look at the Petroleum Industry Act, which governs the petroleum sector, both the midstream, downstream, and the upstream. If you look particularly at the sections of the act that governs, the roles, that dictates the roles of the midstream and downstream regulatory agency, it states that that agency has the power or functions to ensure that there's competition in the operations, in the midstream and downstream. So I think Nigerians are being a bit sentimental by reacting, inserting some people, not everyone, to be fair, by saying that Dangote should not be questioned, or maybe that the MD of the agency, Farouk Ahmed, said something that is so absurd, because it is his role to ensure that there's competition, and he has alleged that Dangote tried to coerce the agency, tried to railroad the agency to stop importation of petroleum products. Imagine a Nigeria struggling to meet the high demands of, Nigeria has an economy run on diesel, run on petrol. So imagine trying to have a monopoly. And then, it becomes a bit, for me, I was a bit taken aback when after, the MD of the agency in charge of the regulation, alleged that Dangote wants to enjoy a monopoly. And then we saw Africa's richest man, now saying that it's NNPC that wants, to have a monopoly. So, it's a bit confusing for a journalist of my experience. But like I said initially, I'm glad that the minister has stepped in and tried to, bring calm. And then I think it should go beyond him just stepping in. It should not be a one-off thing. It should find a proper platform, interagency platform that he will ensure that all the, suspicion is cleared. But I must say that we should insist on transparency and accountability. Nobody is above regulation. Nobody is above regulation.
Absolutely. So what you're saying is that Farouk Ahmed's statement is not out of line.
it's not out of line at all, because like I said, if you look at the PIA, maybe people don't understand that. If you look at the PIA, you see that it's part of the functions of the midstream, downstream regulatory agency to ensure competition and to ensure availability of products. So when you're in that seat, that is one of your major concerns, to ensure that there's competition. And like you said in your introduction, unfortunately, Dangote has had that reputation hanging around him, that he seems like he enjoys monopoly. And I'll go back to my introduction by saying that I'm a person that has a bias for competition, promoting competition. One of the reasons why America is the #1 economy in the whole world is because of what they call the antitrust law that was enacted by President Theodore Roosevelt when he was a civil servant, head of the Civil Service Commission, when he had the idea of the antitrust law. When he became president, he drove that law, and that law used to break the monopoly of the Belmont called Standard Oil, owned by John D. Rockefeller, the first modern day billionaire in America. So we in Nigeria now, we are dealing with our own billionaire, and no matter what, I believe in regulation. I believe in ensuring that there's competition, and whoever asserts, or Dangote has complained recently that there's international mafia, there's local mafia, NNPC. In fact, he became so exacerbated that he said NNPC can come and, buy him out. I was taken aback by that and a little worried. So I really hope, that
Kemi,
the joint committee.
If at all,
Yes.
competition is allowed. Competition is allowed, just as you've said. And if there seems to be some sort of monopolistic control, whose job is it to regulate it? And if NNPCL is complaining today, is that not showing some weakness?
No, please, can you come again? I don't understand. It's the job of the, like I said, in terms of, in terms of, retail, Dangote selling, petroleum products, to retailers, it's the job of the midstream and downstream regulatory agency. And I know that at some point last year, the upstream regulatory petroleum agency did try to find a way to ensure that all the players within the country have, quantum and, good supply of, products for them to now, to manufacture, to fuel, to diesel, to aviation fuel and all of that. So I think that if you ask me, I think the federal government, especially in the last 2 years or thereabout, has done its best to support local manufacturers, local refineries, be it the Dangote Refinery or the few modular refineries that are in operation.
So we'll come back to the issue of local refineries. But what danger do these accusations and counter-accusations portend for the refinery and the oil and gas sector?
Sorry, could you come again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What danger do these accusations and counter-accusations portend for the refinery and the oil and gas sector?
I think it's quite, it doesn't portray Nigeria in good light, In recent times, countries were, categorized as markets. You have the G8, you have the BRICS, you have the Mint. Nigeria is in the Mint group, and we really should do our best to make Nigeria look, a market that's attractive to foreign direct investment, attractive to investors also like Dangote. But when you have this kind of, exchange of words, with the Africa Churches man and the founder and chief marketer of Dangote Refineries, the midstream and downstream petroleum regulatory agency, and then you also have the NNPC GM. They haven't needing to come and defend himself and say that he's being falsely accused, saying he doesn't own any blending factory in Malta, that he's not against Dangote. And you remember that even as at, I think about a year ago, NNPC was still a darling of Dangote Refinery. So we wonder where they fell out. Why these counter-accusations? Like I said, the minister has to go beyond that Monday meeting. He has to go beyond that meeting to find, credible platforms. In fact, I think the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should tax the minister to find, give him a proper plan, plan about how he intends to maintain industrial harmony in the oil sector.
So would you also recommend an independent auditor of the Dangote Refinery NNPC transaction?
Why not? Because, when you think about it, Nigeria, NNPCL invested, money, and we're supposed to have, been 20% equity. Then, recently, Alhaji Aliko Dangote said that 20% equity is actually 7.2% because NNPC did not balance, the remainder of the money supposed to, pay for that, equity. So for that share, it's quite worrisome because the initial idea was for Nigeria to have shares in, Dangote Refinery for security reasons, for, nationalistic reasons, to be sure that we have a say, this kind of behemoth. That's a $19, billion, 650,000 barrel, refinery. You can't have it in a country and government does not have a say. So I think that that investment should be looked at, and the interest of Nigeria, the interest of the people should come first, not sentiment. It should be what is the genuine interest of the people, and the ultimate goal for us is to have improved supply of fuel, petroleum products, be it aviation fuel, be it diesel, be it the everyday fuel for cars. So I think that's the most important thing for us. We have to ensure that we look at that deal again with the interest of the Nigerian consumer, Nigerian nation at heart.
So the House of Reps Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources has now launched a probe into claims that local refineries, including Dangote Refinery, produce inferior products. And the committee is also investigating the allegations that the international oil companies in Nigeria are frustrating the survival of the Dangote Refinery. But with countless probes by the House of Reps and with Nigerians never getting the outcome of those probes, how optimistic are you about this?
Well, I'm optimistic because I believe that the National Assembly has a role. That's part of his role to investigate, fraud. It's part of his oversight functions. It would have been disappointing if the National Assembly did not intervene. But like you said, Nigerians are not optimistic as I am because we've had so many proofs. As a journalist, I've reported the House of Reps, for years, and you see after the headlines what happens. Some of these committees are not even meticulous enough to submit the report after all the shouting headlines. So we hope that, because this is a very important issue, it's about the survival of Nigeria, because like I said, Nigeria is a country run on diesel, it's run on fuel. We have a struggling aviation industry. It's a very important issue that the House must be meticulous, and it's a joint committee. So they are both young first-time lawmakers. They should be interested in making an impression and proving to Nigerians that they are really, genuinely concerned about the issues, and they want to bring up a report that will be unbiased, professionally done, and actionable.
For you, beyond what the House of Reps has said, what exactly should the committee be investigating this time?
Like you mentioned, they need to look at the deal between the NNPCL and Dangote. They need to look at the deal between NNPCL and Dangote. They also need to look at the claims, the allegations by the MD of, the midstream, downstream petroleum regulatory agency, that Dangote tried to coerce, the agency into a monopoly, saying that they should not allow other people, other companies import petroleum products. They need to look at that. And then also, it's very critical, like I said, is the consumer, is the average Nigerian that is, most important in this thing. It's not sentiment. They should ensure that whatever is being sold to Nigerians is not substandard, that the products are up to standard. So the allegation by the Farouk Ahmed also should be looked into, that some of the products being produced in Nigeria are substandard. Those allegations need to be looked into also. Those are the key things for me. And I expect that the committee, the joint committee, should keep to time and present, an actionable report.
With majority of energy experts warning that it's high time the Tinubu administration looked into how powerful the IOCs are, would you say governments appear helpless in this situation? And what difference must this government make for Nigerians to take him seriously? And that's the president now.
Well, like I said, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes last year, the Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency held a meeting, with the IOCs and NNPCL, trying, to create a platform or trying to make them, be more sincere about supplying crude to local manufacturers. I think the president needs to, step in, maybe through the minister or have an interministerial committee. I don't think it's too much. We've seen where in advanced democracies, there are some interventions that are now domiciled. It might be a 2 or 3 year program, although Nigerians are tired of committees and all that. So it might be like a 2 or 3 year program, at least, the first tenure of this presidency can be located in the presidency, and seeing how that platform can ensure that IOCs do not shortchange Nigerian, local manufacturers. And then maybe it's also time to look at some of the joint ventures. It's a very complicated matter, but maybe look at some of the joint venture agreements. Because if you look at Nigeria, we've struggled to even meet OPEC quota. So we are part of the problem might also be that if NNPCL looks at how many barrels of oil is supposed to supply to Dangote on a daily basis, can they meet up, the JVC, expectations, the parts of their JVC expectations, and then they have enough to sell to even earn forex for Nigeria to be able to, fund the budget and other interventions, pay for healthcare, education, So those are it's very intricate, and I think that the president, took the bulls by the horn and to announce that subsidy is gone, and to also float the naira. He's taking some tough decisions. So I think it's time for him also to take his tough decision. And I'm telling you that I believe that Nigerians support him, because it's time to, to clear the organ table and reset the oil industry, especially as we have the PIA as a guide.
Many people believe IOCs control this country. So one, do you also think that IOCs control the country? And second, can we ever stop importing petroleum products into this country?
Well, I'm somebody that I'm not too much of a conspiracy theorist, because as a journalist, you must have, the facts. But of course, what the role of government in even in the most advanced societies, is to regulate, to do the job of regulations through established agencies, and we have that in our petroleum industry. So I think it's left, like I said, it's left for the president to show political will and ensure that these agencies are empowered. So when for example, if Farouk Ahmed says the petroleum products being sold by a behemoth, a big company, is substandard, we don't shout him down and don't go and then raise a motion in the House of Representatives and say, oh, how dare he say something like that. We should examine what he said and find out that these allegations, are they true? And until we can help the modular refineries, we can help Dangote produce, then I think that we are still on the path of importing petroleum products, because like I said, like I've been saying, I just sound like a broken record. Nigeria is a country run on diesel, run on fuel, so we have to fly our aircraft. So there's no way the aviation sector has to function. So there's no way we can start say that it's too early for us. Let me put it that way. It's too early for us to say we want to start saying when we ever stop importing fuel products. It's too early, I think.
Talking about political will, I'm worried about why it appears like government lacks the political will to put things in right perspective. And I wonder how you react to this sentiment indicating that we lack a clear sense of purpose and direction, which will continue to make us vulnerable to the influence and control of other nations with more defined objectives. I mean, $1.5 billion for the revitalization of the PH refinery, $1.4 billion for the Warri refinery. But every other day, Melekari continues to give us different dates for the production date for the PH refinery. First week in August is the new date, and it's almost here. What do you think the president must do if this new date changes?
Well, you know that NNPCL is not a limited liability company. Mm-hmm. I think the president, like I said, he has appointed ministers, he has appointed heads of parastatals. Like I said, it is not too much for the president. It's not too much of an ask for the president if he has a 2 to 3 year plan and domicile that that plan, and put it that way, or that committee, that expert committee, to look into the issues in the oil sector, to look at the problems, to look at why some problems seem unsolvable. But I think that NNPCL is a new concept that Nigerians are getting used to. And I don't blame them. Like you said, it's been years and years of, seeming ineptitude, corruption and mismanagement, and, but now we have an NNPCL. So I think that Nigerians, need to look at the NNPCL from a different perspective, and maybe give it a chance. But like I said, it needs presidential intervention. It needs presidential intervention, and, it must be done, effectively.
A total overhaul of the NNPCL.
Well, like I said, I'm a parliamentary reporter, so I'm strict about laws. Whatever intervention the president has to make or will make will be in accordance with the PIE, will be in accordance with the laws governing the new NNPCL. So whatever, because you're talking about also that you mentioned earlier that it's not a good look, the brickbats that happened in the last few weeks. It's also not a good look for government to have, signed a law, and the law is, enforced, and then you make interventions that are outside, the law. So that's why I said that whatever the president wants to do, he has to be in the confines of the PIA, and then how the new NNPCL is supposed to be run and is set up by law.
But also, before I let you go, how do we ensure that at the end of the day, Nigerians are not the biggest losers, especially when it comes to profit margin?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, you said maybe there's a need, and I agree that there's a need to look at the agreement between, or the deal between Dangote Refinery and NNPCL. And that's why I'm not, I have put Nigerians first. And that's why, despite the fact that I'm one of the greatest admirers of Alhaji Aliko Dangote, I believe that we should approach this deal without sentiment and in accordance with the law, putting the consumer, which is the average Nigerian, first. That first of all, we have high quality products, and secondly, that this investment is a profitable investment. Look at what with NLNG. NLNG is one of our greatest success stories, and it's a deal that Nigerian government got into, and yet we are still reaping the benefits of NLNG. So we have to make sure that this deal with Dangote is one that is profitable to Nigerians, and that it's one that is profitable to us in terms of dollars, in terms of naira, in terms of us having affordable petroleum products that are of international or standard quality. That's my opinion.
A great conversation tonight. Kemi Yesufu, CEO, Editor-in-Chief, Frontline News Online. All right, let's take a break.
Thanks for having me.
Stay with us.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV station of the year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news. Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, The pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Good morning, Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyingo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call permanent solutions.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe is achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. I'm Adedoja Salamadini. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teacher.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices were echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything.
If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all. Their demands, a familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does,
Welcome back, everyone. I still have Kemi Yesufu, CEO, Editor-in-Chief, Frontline News Online. Kemi, thank you so much for staying with us on the program. Now, 2 more questions before I let you go tonight. How important is it that we get our refineries up and running? How important is it for the economy?
I mean, you can't overstate that fact that we need to get our refineries, up and working. Like you mentioned earlier, the Mele Kyari, the CEO of NNPCL, has issued another deadline, and I think we have to look forward to that deadline because it's quite important that we get our refineries working. Like I've been saying earlier, we need, to retain as much forex as we can. We need to ensure that this economy that is run on diesel, run on fuel, has, supply of these products at more affordable rates. There are lots of companies, businesses folding up because people just can't, cope with the cost of production, be it services or goods. So for Nigeria's economy to survive, we need to get, our refineries, running again. And we also need to look beyond, those FG-owned refineries, the inherited refineries, to look at what is happening with those. How about those who got the licenses for modular refineries? Why are they struggling? How can we help them, come afloat? And then, of course, we go back to Dangote also refinery. It's good that we quickly settle whatever the problems are between him and the regulatory agencies in the sector. And if Nigeria can go even a step further to address his concerns about international mafia, that's we saw that in some presidencies before the current presidency. At a point, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan traveled with the biggest names in business in Nigeria. We've also seen the current president travel, with our big businessmen. But beyond that, the president also has to help them to, play the international politics that is needed to be played. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. We should stand firm. We should be able to support our, small, big, and big businesses. So this is a time for, government to look at it, not just the first step, yes, like you mentioned, to get the refineries working. I'm somebody that I wish sometimes that we can bring everybody that has ever handled the turnaround maintenance, contract in Nigeria and ask them, how come you were paid billions of, naira, and today none of our refineries are working? But, coming back to, the current leadership of NNPCL, I think, I would like to, join stakeholders and Nigerians, to task the current, CEO of NNPCL to keep, bring to fruition his promise that the refineries will be back, especially, Port Harcourt Refinery, which
and
has
in
not
addition
given,
to that,
the most recent date.
In addition to that, owners of local refineries in Nigeria say they can help the country stop the importation of refined petroleum products in 18 months if the federal government works with their plans. And this takes me back to the liberalization of the petroleum industry, which was supposed to be a blessing. But as we speak, Dangote, NNPCL, NMDPRA, what next? Where do we go from here?
Like I said earlier, is simply for the presidency through, the minister and the heads of the MDAs and regulators to take a step forward, to sincerely, take a step forward. We have a law, like I said earlier, that is regulating the industry. So there's no lack of policy, there's no lack of instrumentality, there's no lack of legal instrumentality, there's no lack of, having the right kind of, departments, regulatory, there's no lack of that. So what probably we need to add to this is a political will, to get things done, to harmonize, to make sure that there is one government. There is one government. There is no cacophony of voices. There's nobody, personalizing public office as the head of a regulatory agency or head of any, or as a minister or DG or anything. So that's what government needs to do. If you put people to task, the people you have appointed, the individuals you have appointed in these key positions, if you put them to task, and of course also NNPCL, put them to task and, maybe give them a deadline. Like I said, might have a 2-3 year plan, because I think that the challenges in the petroleum sector is quite intricate and multi-layered. So I don't see sincerely like a magic wand being waved over those problems and they disappear. Those problems has to be solved painstakingly, and there has to be an overarching, ideology around solving this problem, like you said, to make sure that, this industry works and it betters, at the end of the day, it becomes like the foundation or the engine room for, bringing back Nigeria pulling Nigeria back from the brink.
All right. Kemi Yesufu, CEO, Editor-in-Chief, Frontline News Online. Thank you so much for your perspectives tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.